As the end of the vacation season approaches, many young men return home to reunite with their families, making this a peak time for organized dating and marriage discussions. However, exorbitant dowry requirements make marriage unattainable for many men. In modern China, the dowry remains an integral part of wedding traditions. It represents a gift from the groom's family to the bride's family. In recent years, due to a serious imbalance in the sex ratio among young people, where men outnumber women, this has led to excessively high standards for brides and a sharp rise in dowry prices. Interestingly, poorer rural areas in China often require a higher dowry for marriage. For example, in some of the poorest areas of Gansu, dowries can reach around 300,000 yuan. Similar high dowries are common in Shandong, Heilongjiang, Liaoning, and Jiangxi. Combined with the cost of a house and car, which are usually provided by the groom, the total cost of marriage can reach 1 million or even several million yuan. This leaves many young men from poor families single, and those who try to marry find themselves in significant debt, plunging them back into poverty. Many criticize the practice as akin to selling daughters. The phenomenon of exorbitantly high dowries is attributed to poverty and competition, with families hoping to improve their living conditions through daughters' marriages, especially in families with sons. Parents demand high dowries for their daughters in order to finance their sons' future weddings. This resembles a form of transactional exchange. The situation is exacerbated by the fact that in some cases parents are willing to marry off even minor daughters for the sake of dowry. For example, there was the case of a 15-year-old girl from Shaanxi who was tried to be forcibly married off for dowry money because of her family's poverty. This story attracted widespread media attention. The high cost of dowry has led to the emergence of phenomena such as dowry loans from banks. While such initiatives have attracted criticism and skepticism, they show how serious the problem is. The situation is particularly dire in rural areas, where the average dowry can be as much as 360,000 yuan, not counting cars and houses. Young people are forced to take out loans and borrow from relatives and friends to raise the necessary amount. This leads to one wedding plunging the whole family into debt. The government is trying to regulate the situation by calling for limiting the amount of dowry and prohibiting excessive spending. However, these measures are ineffective as the root cause of the problem is a serious shortage of women of a marriageable age in rural areas. This is due to the imbalance in sex ratio at birth and the exodus of rural women to urban areas. Unlike undeveloped rural areas, in high-income cities such as Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen, exorbitant dowries are virtually non-existent and the dowry itself is optional. If both parties are well-suited and in love, or if the man has good prospects, the woman may even be willing to contribute more. Some experts believe that the best way to fundamentally change the problem of high dowries and difficulty in finding wives for rural men is to reform rural land ownership. If people had at least partial ownership rights over rural land, allowing them to freely invest, transfer, inherit, and mortgage it, the wealth gap between rural and urban areas would rapidly narrow, and the competitiveness of rural men would increase significantly. In addition, reforming the household registration system, eliminating the rural-urban dichotomy, increasing population mobility between urban and rural areas, and improving rural infrastructure and public services could alleviate the outflow of rural women, thereby easing the contradiction between supply and demand in the marriage market. However, these measures are complex and independent, and the Chinese Communist Party may not be willing to change such a deeply entrenched social structure. Issuing a document banning high dowry is not an easy task. The CQ's decision to ban high dowry is certainly more convenient and simple. Therefore, as long as the CCP is in power, the dual urban-rural structure in China is unlikely to change, and the problem of high dowries in rural areas will persist, leading to more bachelors in rural China. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the content, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for further interesting content. We wish you happiness and prosperity in your personal life, regardless of cultural traditions.